Florida Governor Rick Scott, who's going to tour the devastation with members of the Florida National Guard and Mayor Lenny Curry. Here's the governor.
Good start.
All right, for some reason he's seeming to wait.
Yeah. He's waiting for the chopper blades to slow. He just, I don't know if you noticed, he pointed to his ear and said to Mayor Curry that they should be able to hear us in a second. So he wants to make sure that that noise doesn't get in the way. And he just said, just wait a second for the chopper. He's got 3,500 National Guard troops deployed around the state right now to deal with the damage that was left in Matthew's wake. Both the mayor and Mayor of Jacksonville and the Beaches mayor said that the governor has been very responsive to the needs of this community and making sure that they had available whatever they needed, be it to provide gas, to open the roads, provide electric power, and certainly in the near future to provide funding.
That's very interesting, too, because you heard Mayor of Jacksonville Beach, Charlie Latham. He said he was amazed by the turnaround. As soon as the governor called him, he told him about the storm surge intrusion, of course, over at First between Beach and 16th Avenue South. He said immediately the governor said, hey, listen, he called him back and said, we've got some pumps that I'm flying in right now to help remove that standing water.
Pictures you're seeing on your right, that is South Ponte Vedra Beach. I understand there's been a lot of damage as you head into Volano Beach. We've seen problems on the road as you pass Guano River. Now you're seeing the damage that was done beachside. Apparently significant structural damage, apparent beach erosion, and some other problems. Once again, the governor's just waiting for those chopper blades to slow and for that noise to abate before he begins his news conference. We'll get an assessment from him since he's toured some other areas already this morning as to what's happening 2 hours south at Stewart, West Palm Beach, and also to our north up in Nassau County. Looks like the governor's ready to begin.
All right. I think everybody can hear now, right? All right. So, I guess the first thing we can say is we were all blessed that Matthew stayed off our coast. I worried the whole time that even though the track was off our coast, that it would turn in and have a direct hit at some point. So, as you know, this week I traveled the state just to try to make sure everybody had the resources they needed, and then on top of that, make sure that people evacuated and took this seriously enough. Because while we're blessed it stayed off our coast, if it had a direct impact hit, it would have been a lot worse for our families. Yesterday I was in Brevard County and Volusia County. I started this morning, we came up on Volusia County, and here's what you can see if you're along our coast. First off, the water's really mucky still. I mean, Matthew really churned up our water. There's unbelievable amounts of beach erosion. There's a lot of beach erosion. We have quite a few, not the whole road, but quite a few pockets of our road damaged along, right along the coast. And then we still have a lot of flooding, and we still have a lot of downed trees. I'll talk about it a little bit. We still have a lot of people without power. I spent time the last week talking to mayors. I spoke with Mayor Curry a lot. I spoke with sheriffs. I spoke with Sheriff Williams, and the big thing is just to make sure that everybody had all the resources that we could make available. With me today is the Adjutant General of the National Guard, and as you know, we called up our National Guard, and they've had a variety of things they've been doing, whether it's helping with security areas of our state, helping with sheltering, helping with search and rescue. They've done a yeoman's job. And let's just think about our National Guard for a second. A lot of these individuals left because they were called up and they had no idea what their community was going to be like, their house was going to be like, and how their family was going to be doing. So you really have to admire our National Guard for doing that. Also this week I've been the General Turner, who runs 5 states, the Southeast states, for the Corps of Engineers, has been traveling with me and been with me and came to our Emergency Operations Center just to make sure we had all the resources. The Corps of Engineers works hand in hand with FEMA, and General Turner has been a good friend and has been with me trying to make sure that we get all the resources we need. Also with me is Jason Kirk. Colonel Kirk runs the Corps of Engineers for most of the state of Florida, including probably the biggest projects in the United States, and that's the Lake Okeechobee, the dike there. And the key there was to make sure the dike was safe and make sure we monitored our water levels. All of our water management district, from the St. John's Management District down to the South Florida Water Management District, was very focused on making sure we knew where the water was going to be. So on this flight, we saw a lot of beach erosion, a lot of downed trees. Some of the roads are out, and then we saw a lot of pier or docks messed up. I've spoken with a lot of mayors this morning already, and boy, this state's a resilient place. People are very comfortable that we're going to get this back. We know there's a lot of work to do, but this state's going to come back. The Department of Transportation has been very focused on making sure they reassess our bridges after this so we can get back to our barrier islands. They were talking with the mayor this morning to make sure that all of our bridges are safe. And I know the mayor is going to talk about that for a second, but they've been around and trying to make sure that happened. I also have the Secretary of the State Department of Environmental Protection with me, John Steverson. And one of the issues that the mayor brought up to me 2 days ago, I guess, it's hard to keep track of all this, was the issue that we had to start to get a lot of water over in the beach communities. And so they, along with the St. John's Water Management District, is doing everything they can, working with the mayor and the sheriff, to get that water back out so we can get back into these communities. Our Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission has been doing search and rescue missions, both for people and for property, with our National Guard. And they've been doing it as the storm moved north. Highway Patrol, we have over 150 members of our state highway patrol that have been coming, helping. They were initially helping do the evacuations, but now helping get people back. We are trying to make sure all of our roads are open, everybody can get back to normal as fast as possible. I have stopped all the tolls through on the state roads through Sunday night, and we'll reassess at that time. We did it county by county to make sure we could get the evacuation done. I know the mayor and the sheriff were very focused on the evacuation here, but we really worked hard to make sure people evacuated, and there was no reason that people would stay in their house. The most important thing for everybody is the public safety. I mean, I love my wife, my daughters, my son-in-law, my grandsons. I don't want anything to happen to them or anything to happen to any family in our state. As of midnight last night, we had 6,000 people still in our shelters. We have 88 shelter openings. And hopefully, as people get their power back, we'll be able to get people back in their homes quickly and get people back to their homes, back to their jobs, back to school. We've got over 1 million people, around 1 million people out without power. I talked to Florida Power Light this morning. They've already restored power for 725,000 homes. They have over 400,000 homes out. Their goal is for Florida Power and Light is late tomorrow that they would have everybody restored, although always what happens, there'll be some some areas that will be harder to get. And I know the mayor is going to give an update on JEA, which he's very focused on making sure that we get power back. Flagler, over 90% of our homes are without power. Volusia, over 80%. Duval, still probably over 50%. Nassau, over 60%. St. John's, over 70%. We've been having daily calls with our utility companies. We've got crews coming from all over the country, both at our 4 big companies, our municipals, and our co-ops. And one of my big goals is get everybody to work together. And then like Florida Power Light, I think, has brought in, they have 15,000 people working as they finish, and they'll be coming north, that if JEA or any other municipal or co-op needs some help, they can help them. We've offered housing to utility crews that have come from out of state at Camp Blanding and Embry-Riddle, and we'll continue to do that. We don't have any fuel issues. If maybe a gas station for a short period of time will have a fuel issue, but we've got 5 days of fuel, assuming the ports were completely closed and our ports are reopening. So there are no fuel issues in the state right now. Price gouging. It's disgusting. It's disgusting if anybody price gouges. This is the time that we need to help each other. There should be no price gouging. I know it's something the Attorney General is very focused on. You can go to myfloridalegal.com, reach out, or you can go to 866-9-NO-SCAM. 866-9-NO-SCAM. I can't imagine why anybody would try to take advantage of somebody, whether it's a hotel, whether it's gas, whether it's somebody to work on your house. There should be no price gouging. On top of that, if you have any concern with regard to insurance, if you have any concern with regard to somebody that is trying to charge you too much, you can call your insurance companies. You can call the Department of Insurance Regulation. They'll focus on it. We've got curfews in Flagler and Volusia counties. We're going to do everything we can to keep everybody safe. Our airports have opened or are reopening. The biggest thing we can do is keep everybody safe. Now, let's think about where we are now. We have a lot of down power lines. Don't touch them. Talk to your kids. Talk to your grandkids. If they're outside, do not let them get close to a power line. If there's standing water, we have standing water. We have down trees. Be careful. Be careful. If don't walk or drive into standing water. Generators. Do not have a generator in your house. Generators are outside your home. We cannot lose a life because we have a generator in somebody's house. So so we've got it. Look, we are blessed that we didn't have a direct hit. We've got to keep everybody safe. Often what happens is a family will survive the tragedy, the disaster, the hurricane, and then something will happen. They'll use a power saw the wrong way. They'll touch a power line. They will drive into standing water. We cannot have any of that. I want every family in this state to be safe. I know the mayor would like to add something. I'll come back and we'll answer questions.
Yeah, well, good morning. I kind of want to reiterate something that I stated in our briefing about an hour or so ago. It's a new day, and the sun is shining behind us. There's a lot of people in pain right now, people without electricity, people are hungry, they're tired. We're going to do what we did on the front end and what we do every day and what the governor does every day, and that is we're going to ride each other hard. We're going to ride our utility. We're going to ride all of our workers to get this community back together as quickly and as safely as possible. I do want to say, compliment and commend the governor about getting things done. He mentioned the flooding. I mean, we were in constant contact with this whole process, but it wasn't just a conversation. After the conversation, there was immediate results. I knew when I ordered people to evacuate that they weren't going to want to leave their homes. But many heeded the order, and I knew they were going to want to get back into their homes and see what happened. And in doing that, we knew we were going to have to assess damage, public safety, specifically bridges and arteries into the beaches cities. Spoke to the governor late last night on this issue, and again early this morning. He, in conjunction with the FDOT, got us clearance on the safety of the bridges, and we were able to lift the evacuation order at noon today. That is one example of, frankly, just getting things done. So we're just going to stay at it. There's a lot of work to do, and we're all going to come out of this better and stronger. With that, Sheriff.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. Again, just from this morning, we just encourage people to continue to be patient with us. Things are coming together nicely this morning. Obviously, it's a beautiful day, and we're able to get a lot of work done. So things will continue to improve throughout the day, and we'll keep pushing messages out. But I do want to take a minute and thank the governor for the state assets. Listen, before, during, and now after the storm, and we've got National Guard on the ground helping in many areas. We've had constant communication and conversation with the governor. I think we've got the hardest working governor in the country. So listen, I can't tell you how much we all appreciate that. But again, we've got a lot of work left to do. Don't let your guard down, to the community. And we're going to continue to work. And really a quick thank you to the media. You guys, every time we stand up, you guys are here putting that information out. And we need that. So thank you for that.
So I know the mayor's going to keep working. I know the sheriff's going to keep working. I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank the Corps for being here. With the National Guard for all those members, but we're not going to leave him. I mean, we're going to do everything we can to get everybody back to normal. We're going to get them back to work, we're going to get back to their homes, and we're going to get them back to school. That's the most important thing we can do for every family. Every family wants to get back to normal.